Senators of the Republic.
The 47th session of the Senate and second regular session of the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. Today will be led in prayer by our distinguished Majority Floor Leader, no other than Senator Joel Villanueva.
Let's put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we come before you, humbling ourselves, knowing that indeed, without you, we are nobody, we are nothing apart from you. But if you are with us, no one in no circumstances here on earth can be against us. Today, as we open our session, we are asking for the forgiveness of our sins in words, in thoughts, and in deeds. Sins that we inherited from our forefathers. We lift it up to you and ask for your forgiveness. And please clothe us with your robe of righteousness, with the blood that was shed in Calvary. Today, we ask for your guidance, wisdom, and favor. We pray for this institution, our beloved institution, the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines. We pray for every member of this august chamber, every family represented here, all our staff and employees of the Senate. We also pray for all our kababayans who were affected, displaced by floods and landslides caused by torrential rains in Mindanao, particularly in Davao region, that submerge agricultural lands, private properties, and roads and bridges. We pray that you comfort them, embrace them with your love. We also pray for the leaders of our country to heed the voices of our people and to prioritize their essential needs, such as food, jobs, and education. We also pray for healing, especially for our nation. As the walls of our country are broken, we pray that you use each and every one of us in rebuilding the walls of this nation for your glory alone. We ask this in the name that is above every name. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Everybody agree and say amen. And
Amen. Session suspended for 1 minute. please call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, the Senate President.
With 22 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, before we proceed, we'd like to acknowledge some guests from the gallery. We have with us the guests of Senator Legarda, Secretary Renato Sulidum Jr., Yusek Chodoro Gatchalian, our good friend, Director Julius Leaño Jr., Director General Jeremy Barnes of the National Museum, President Michelle Nikki Junia of the Cultural Center of the Philippines, weavers and members of Aklan Piña Mantra, DOT Yusek Shirin U Pamintuan, NCCA Chair Victorio Manalo, and KWF Chair Arthur Casanova. We also have with us, Mr. President, guest of this representation, our good friend, Mayor Cesar D. and Councilor Edgardo Atienza of Kawayan City, Isabela. Mayor Aimee de Guzman of Santo Domingo, Nueva Ecija is also here, together with Councilor Mother Santa Maria of Nueva Ecija. We also have with us guests of Senator Ejercito, Mayor Roel Rosit, and Vice Mayor John Paul Lampig of Boston, Davao Oriental, Vice Mayor Evert Laines, and local officials of Umingan, Pangasinan, Mayor Racma Andamama of Munay, Lanao del Norte, guest of Senator De La Rosa, guest of the Senate, Mayor Christian Rodriguez of Taytay, Palawan, and Barangay Captain Maria Luisa Rodriguez, Kapitan Melvin Calandria of Cabuyao, Laguna, guest of Senator Lapid, and this representation, councilors from Dinalupihan, Bataan. We welcome all of them. Last but not the least, Mr. President, let me take this opportunity to welcome in this August chamber the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, headed by our good friend, President Al Panlilio, SBP Executive Director Erica D., Philippine Sports Commission Chair Richard Bachman, former SBP Executive Director Sonny Barrios, Ms. Lenny Nocum, Glenda Casupana, Mr. Anton Gonzalez, Mr. Raymond Austria, Mr. Mark Solano, Coach Ryan Gregorio is here with us, Mr. President, and Mr. Rex Dacanay. We welcome all of them in this August chamber, Mr. President.
Yes, welcome to your Senate. Gentlemen and ladies, mabuhay po kayo.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 46th Session, Monday, February 5, 2024, and consider the same as approved.
There being no objection to the motion, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
There being no objection, Secretary, please proceed.
Bill on first reading, Senate number 2529, an act reorganizing the Council for the Welfare of Children into the Philippine Commission on Children, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees of Women, Children, Family Relations, Civil Service, and Finance.
Resolutions. Resolution of both Houses number 7, resolution of both Houses of Congress proposing amendments to Section 1 of Article 17 of the 1987 Constitution by Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes.
Proposed Senate Resolution 922, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an investigation on the frequent accidents on the roads caused by the mishandling and improper maintenance of live wires and unattended wires. Senator Tulfo.
To the Committees on Public Works and Energy.
923, calling for the Senate Committee on National Defense and Security to conduct an investigation into a foreign government-sponsored cyber intrusion affecting government agencies, including those directly involved in safeguarding national interests in the West Philippine Sea. Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on National Defense and Science and Technology.
924, directing the Senate Committee on Public Works and other appropriate Senate committees to look into the proliferation of billboards on major thoroughfares and the consequent dangers they pose relating to road accidents, with the end in view of updating and or consolidating existing laws and regulations towards a safer and sustainable road for the riding public and pedestrians alike. Senator Revilla Jr.
The Committee on Public Works. Before we recognize the Majority Floor Leader, on the PS Resolution number 922 of Senator Tulfo, Senator Raffy Tulfo, you are going to investigate the road accidents caused by live wires and unattended wires. Sana maisama nyo na po yung mga poste ng mga electric cooperatives na nasa gitna ng daan. A lot of the motorcycle riders here know that, lalo na sa probinsya. Anyway, under jurisdiction din ng Committee on Energy po yung electric cooperatives. That's under NEA. So you can also call them, because that's also a very dangerous road hazard. I'm sure Senator JV in his travels will see that in his bikes, electric posts in the middle of the road. So yun lamang po. Thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution number 857. This is the resolution congratulating the FIBA, LOC and SBP for successful hosting of the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. I so move, Mr. President.
There be objection, motion is approved. We like to ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Resolution congratulating and commending the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, as well as the private sector and all government agencies and instrumentalities for the successful hosting of the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Aurora, our dashing member of this August chamber, Senator Sani Angara. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, a distinguished colleague from the province of Aurora, as well as a resident basketballista, together with our Majority Floor Leader, Senator Bongo, sino pa mga basketballista dito. Yes, Majority Leader. Is recognized, our dear colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader, dear colleagues. Tayo po ay tumatayo ngayong araw para bigyan ng parangal at kilalanin ang Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, SBP, ang FIBA Local Organizing Committee or LOC, at lahat ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno at mula sa pribadong sektor na nagsanib puwersa para ilunsad sa bansa ang FIBA World Cup itong nakaraang taon. Between August 25 and September 10 last year, Mr. President, 32 national men's basketball teams competed in the World Cup of the International Basketball Federation, more popularly known by the acronym FIBA. Of the 92 games that comprised the tournament, more than half were held here in Philippine shores. This took place, Mr. President, because of the incredible multi-stakeholder effort that started in 2017, led by Chairman Emeritus of SBP, Manny V. Pangilinan, where we gained the rights to host the prestigious tournament again, nearly 4 decades after we first hosted such in the year 1978. It was a particularly masterful touch when the idea was floated that the bid for hosting would be shared between 3 nations, the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia. This would be the first time in the tournament's history that this would be the setup. Holding the tournament across different nations already posed its set of sizable challenges, but these were only intensified with the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected all mobility for close to 3 years. Gayunpaman, hindi tumigil ang SBP at ang FIBA LOC sa trabaho at preparasyon. Ito po'y bukod sa hirap at pagod na kailangan para palakasin palalo ang sarili nating koponan, ang Gilas Pilipinas. Sa harap ng mga hamon na ito, nagtagumpay ang SBP at ang Local Organizing Committee. Malaki ang itinulong ng gobyernong ito. Halimbawa dito ang Interagency Task Force na binuo alinsunod sa Administrative Order number 5 ni Presidente Marcos. Minandato nito na tumulong ang iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, mga local government units at tumulong sa preparasyon at pagpapatakbo ng 2023 World Cup. Dagdag ito ng suporta na inihatid ng Kongreso sa pamamagitan ng pagpasok ng kinailangan na pondo sa General Appropriations Act with the help of Senator Bongo, Senator Pia Cayetano, Majority Leader Villanueva, Senate President, and Zubiri and our other colleagues. Lahat ito ay nakatulong para maging matagumpay ang FIBA World Cup. Record-breaking ang 38,115 na tao na dumating ng opening ceremony sa Philippine Arena sa hometown ng ating Majority Leader of Bocaue, Bulacan. Tinataya pa nga na posibleng nakadagdag ng mula 5.5 bilyong piso as direct economic impact hanggang sa 26.47 billion total economic impact sa ating GDP ang ating pag-host ng World Cup. Kasabay nito ang pagtaas ng mga hotel occupancy rates sa siyam na FIBA official hotels. Conrad Hotel, which achieved 100% occupancy, Hotel 101 Manila and Microtel MOA, which achieved 92% occupancy, as well as Hilton Manila, 91.8%, and Grand Hyatt, 96%. May nagtaas din sa volume ng visitor arrivals natin, lalong-lalo na mula sa mga bansa na lumahok sa FIBA World Cup. Ayon sa datos ng Department of Tourism, may pagtaas na 700% from Dominican Republic, 600% from Latvia, 595% from China, 444 from Lithuania percent, and 429% from Serbia. If I may share a few slides, dear colleagues, Mr. President, this is FIBA by the numbers. So there are some of the, just to show the gargantuan task achieved by our local organizing committee and assisted by many numerous volunteers and staff, Mr. President. So there, we have 659 activated volunteers, 541 rooms, 355 point-to-point buses, 217 members as the core of the local organizing committee of the Philippines, 157 national federations, 52 total games played in the Philippines, and so forth, Mr. President. So you can imagine the logistical challenges for organizing a event of this magnitude, Mr. President. And for the economic results, we have, for Manila as host of the final phase, we generated 70% of the host city impact at an estimated amount of 346 million euros, Mr. President. And with a total attendance of 700,000 spectators, with 205,000 unique visitors, a great many of those came to Manila. 415,772, as shown in the slide, Mr. President, came to our country. So imagine the multiplier effect, where they ate, where they visited, where they shopped, where they slept, among others, Mr. President. And not only that, not only the economic effect, but also the enhancement of the country's image, Mr. President. So we have the proof here that the FIBA World Cup 2023 enhanced the visitors' perception of the host cities. So out of a total of around 10,000 visitors to the country, 77% of these said they were likely to return to the country. So this is, in a way, it's a gift that keeps on giving, Mr. President. So bukod sa mismong kompetisyon, nagpatakbo rin ng iba pang events ang SBP at ang FIBA LOC. Isa na dito ang FIBA Congress, so kung saan lumahok ang Central Board ng FIBA at ng mga representante ng mga bansang miyembro. Kasama din ang Basketball for Good Charity Gala and Auction ng FIBA Foundation na nagkalap ng $320,000 na pondo para sa mga grassroots initiatives ng FIBA at pagpapaayos ng isang basketball court sa Pasig City. Of course, amid all this, we as a country rallied as best as we could behind the Gilas Pilipinas men's national team, and many of us watched the games. The Senate President himself, the Majority Leader, Senator JV, Senator Jinggoy, Senator Bong, Senator Win, Senator Robin, I think nanood din po, Senator Pia, of course, Senator Bongo, Senator Bato, ay nanood din po ng mga laro. And bagamat hindi tayo nanalo sa lahat ng ating laro, definitely we won one of those that mattered the most. So we recognize the efforts of our Gilas Pilipinas men's national team, Kiefer Ravena, Jordan Clarkson, Scotty Thompson, Kai Soto, Jamie Malonzo, Junmar Fajardo, Roger Pogoy, CJ Perez, Ren Sabando, Dwight Ramos, Chapet Aguilar, AJ Edu, Head Coach Chot Reyes, Assistant Coach Tim Cone, and Jong Uchico, all the coaching and training staff. Of course, Germany won the top distinction, but with our hosting of the World Cup, we as Team Philippines have won several victories, clearly, Mr. President. Not only did we solidify further our spot in the pantheon of basketball-loving countries, we also gained the experience and the know-how of organizing a truly world-class sporting event. And I think this is not the last. I think Senator Pia will give the good news that we may be hosting a similar event in the future. We should not allow the lessons we've learned and the confidence we've gained from this experience to go to waste. Here was a clear example of what we as Filipinos can accomplish when we work together towards achieving a single vision. The fact that we have already done it with hosting the FIBA World Cup means we can do it again for another world-class competition or multi-country global event. And hopefully, with each iteration, we do it better than the one before. At this point, we are only limited by our ambition, among others. For demonstrating what we as a country are capable of and for laying the groundwork for us to organize other large-scale events, we wish to recognize today the FIBA LOC, the SBP, partner government agencies, including the Philippine Sports Commission, headed by Chairman Bachman, the Department of Foreign Affairs, the Department of Interior and Local Government, the Department of Public Works and Highways, the Department of Tourism, the Department of the Bureau of Customs, the Bureau of Immigration, the Philippine National Police, the Metro Manila Development Authority, and all our private sector leaders, including SBP Chairman Emeritus Manny V. Pangilinan, SBP President Alfredo Al Panlillo, who is here with us, SPP Vice Chairman Robbie Puno of the House of Representatives, SPP Vice President Ricky Vargas, the SPP Board of Trustees, Chief Implementer and Master Planner Ramon Suzara, former SPP Executive Director Sani Barrios, and FIBA LOC Deputy Executive Director Erica D., many of whom are with us today, Mr. President. They all deserve to be commended and praised for the very successful hosting of the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Salamat po, Mr. President, dear colleagues.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. Majority.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senators Gatchalian and Binay would just like to insert into the records their co-sponsorship speech. May I just put that on record, Mr. President?
Yes, so noted. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mr. President, may I be recognized to co-sponsor the measure, Mr. President?
Yes, our distinguished Majority Floor Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. It is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor proposed Senate Resolution number 857, congratulating and commending the FIBA Local Organizing Committee and the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, SBP, the private sector, and all government agencies for the successful hosting of the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. As a basketball player, Mr. President, and a huge fan of the game, this representation could not be prouder and more elated that in 2017, we were selected by FIBA along with Japan and Indonesia to host the 2023 Basketball World Cup, the flagship event of the sport's global governing body and arguably the biggest basketball competition in the whole world. We were the first Asian country to host the FIBA World Championship in 1978. And last year, we are again part of history, as this was the first time that the World Cup was staged in 3 countries. We know that it took years, Mr. President, countless meetings, and painstaking planning and organizing to ensure that our hosting is a success. A local organizing committee and the SBP, along with the concerned government agencies and LGUs, ensured that the COVID-19 pandemic would not discourage our preparations for the global event. Kaya naman po tayo ay lubos, nagagalak, na nagbunga ang hirap at pagod ng bawat isa sa atin. At ng ating bansa ay muli na namang nagtala ng kasaysayan. Mr. President, on the opening day of the World Cup held at the Philippine Arena, Bukawi, Bulacan, this representation's hometown, we recorded an astonishing 38,115 spectators. The biggest ever, Mr. President, the biggest ever in basketball World Cup attendance, beating the previous record of 32,616 fans that watched the 1994 World Cup Finals in Canada. Having watched live several of the rest of the games, Mr. President, we were witness to how seamless and organized the entire event was, which made the viewing experience even greater for basketball fans all over the world. In addition, Mr. President, the 2023 World Cup recorded more than 20 billion impressions and 480 million engagements across all social media platforms, which are more than triple the numbers achieved in 2019, as well as 4.6 billion total social media video views, 4 times the record, Mr. President, in the last World Cup, making it, again, the biggest and most successful event in FIBA's history. Hence, Mr. President, this representation would like to congratulate once again the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, the SBP, headed by Chairman Emeritus Manny V. Pangilinan, our good friend, President Al Panlillo, and of course, its chairman, our dear colleague and friend, Senator Sani Angara. All the government agencies that he mentioned before, Mr. President, and all local government units, the private sector, sama na rin po natin yung MOA Arena, yung Araneta Coliseum at Philippine Arena, yung pong mga volunteers natin, lalong-lalo na, for making our hosting of the 2023 Basketball World Cup an immense success. We also thank the players and the coaching staff for giving their all in representing the country in the tournament. In our hosting of the World Cup, we not only displayed our warmth and hospitality in the global stage, Mr. President, we also proved once again that Filipinos are indeed the best basketball fans in the whole world. In closing, Mr. President, let me take this opportunity to welcome, Mr. President, the very good news shared by our SBP friends over the weekend that our kababayan, idol Justin Brownlee, has been cleared to play for Gilas Pilipinas in the first window of the FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers, which will begin, Mr. President, later this month. This is a very welcome development, and we would like again to congratulate our friends from SBP, our idol kababayan Justin Brownlee, and the entire Filipino basketball community who couldn't wait to watch him play for the country again. Mabuhay po, Ginoong Pangulo, ang Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang Philippine basketball. Mabuhay ang mga manlalarong Pilipino, at muli, mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Thank you, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we recognize Senator J.V. Ejercito for his co-sponsorship speech.
Our distinguished colleague from the city of San Juan, Senator J.V. Ejercito, is recognized.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, it gives me great pride to co-sponsor proposed Senate Resolution number 857. The resolution commends the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, and the partners from the government and private sector for successfully hosting the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. Hosting the 2023 FIBA World Cup was a massive logistical challenge that to ensure the care, feeding, transportation, and security of 16 teams as they played in 3 arenas. This was also just 3 years after the COVID-19 pandemic ravaged our hospitality industry. Our hosts also faced great expectations. They were not only closely watched by the participating countries, they were also closely scrutinized by our basketball-crazed countrymen, because basketball is one of our national obsessions after showbiz, boxing, and elections. Our hosts did not falter. They did not drop the ball. They were as clutch as Michael Jordan at three-point line with 3 seconds left, and they were as smooth as the Chicago Bulls of the 1995-1996 NBA season. In doing so, they garnered a massive victory for our country. Ito ang sabi ng FIBA Secretary General in his closing press conference. Manila has been an excellent host. I don't think it's easy to find anywhere else in the world with this level of service to the visitors. We would like to thank, of course, MVP, President Al Panlilio, of course, our colleague Sani Angara, and the rest of the SBP and the organizing committee for giving us the opportunity to watch the best basketball players in the world. And it was really a great experience, Mr. President, that I will truly cherish the rest of my life. You know, the last time I remember that we hosted the World Basketball, FIBA World Basketball was 1978, so that was almost 40 years ago. And I'm glad that the organizing committee really did a great job and really a great impression for the country. It was a victory for the Filipino people. To use another sports metaphor, it showed the Filipino people that teamwork makes the dream work, and that we are capable of great things when we combine our efforts. Once again, I congratulate everyone involved in this successful endeavor. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator J.V. Ejercito. Next to co-sponsor the measure is his loving brother, Mr. President,
His kuya.
Senator Jinggoy Estrada. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Chairman of the Committee of National Defense, Chairman of the Committee on Labor, and the loving brother of Senator J.V. Ejercito is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Talagang pinagsunod niyo pa kami, ha? Mr. President, I would like to manifest my full support for the adoption of Senate Resolution number 857, congratulating the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, headed by President Al Palillo, who incidentally was my classmate at the Ateneo, the private sector, and all government agencies and local government units involved for the Philippines' successful co-hosting of the FIBA Basketball World Cup last year. For the second time in 45 years, passionate Filipinos showed how basketball mania has really swept our nation. We set the FIBA single game turnout of 38,115 basketball-loving fans to show support to Gilas Pilipinas Cagers as they opened their World Cup campaign against Dominican Republic, eclipsing a previous tally of 32,616 who showed up during the 1994 World Cup Finals in Toronto, where Shaquille O'Neal led Team USA back the gold medal against Russia. Despite Gilas Pilipinas winning only a handful of games, Filipino fans showed their love for the game by supporting other teams in various matches. It is really an honor and privilege for us to be given this rare and historic opportunity to co-host the world's most popular indoor sports, and it is befitting to commend those behind this as we showed how basketball has become ingrained in our culture. May mga alam nga tayong mga pamilya na pinapangalan pa ang mga kanilang anak sa mga sikat na basketballista. Ilan lang dyan mula sa homegrown talent katulad ni Sonny Jaworski hanggang kina Jordan, LeBron at Kobe. Di rin ligtas sa mga alagang hayop sa basketball fever ng mga Pinoy. Dahil sa ipinamalas natin suporta noong nagdaang FIBA Basketball World Cup, mismong mga opisyal ng FIBA, players at coaches ang nagpasalamat at nagsabing mahirap makahanap ng klase ng serbisyong ating ipinakita sa buong mundo. Yun lamang po, maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating mga kasamahan sa Senado.
Thank you.
you.
Maraming salamat, Senator Estrada.
Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure is the gentleman recorded as the loudest cheerleader inside the big dome, no other than the gentleman from Davao and Bohol, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa.
Yes,
Book that to be
with special dancing moves, cheerleading moves. Yes, the good gentleman from Davao and the Bohol is recognized, Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My original intention really is to submit into the records, insert into the records itong aking privilege speech dahil 2 pages ito, Mr. President. Pero nevertheless, magbigay lang ako ng pasalamat sa ating mga pinuno ng SBP, si Al Panlilio, si Sunny Barrios, si ating PEC chairman sa Dicky Bacman, at sa of course ating Gilas Pilipinas. Win or loss, win tayo palagi sa ating mga puso, Mr. President. Meron lang akong basahin na isang, of course, yung ating pinakamamahal na kasama. Walang iba kundi si Senator Sani Angara. Congratulations, Idol Sani. Isang paragraph lang basahin ko, Mr. President, para mabilis tayo. Ito yung tungkol sa yung panalo natin sa China. Ito lang. Isang paragraph lang. For a country oppressed, such was truly an inspiring win. Yes, it was basketball, but a clear message was sent. We can and we will always stand up against bullies. Madalas po nating mapabalitaan ang walang habas na reclamation ng China sa West Philippine Sea. Pero noong pagkakataon po na yon, ang front page po kinabukasan ay Pilipinas tinambakan ang China. Maraming salamat, Mr. President.
Maraming salamat, Senator Bato. I love your manifestation.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you very
President, that's very hard to beat the recorded loudest cheerleader in Araneta Coliseum. That's very hard to beat, especially the trending TikTok moves, Mr. President,
Trending
of the
TikTok,
gentleman.
millions of views.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure is our chairperson of the Senate Committee on Sports, no other than the gentleman from Davao and Batangas, Senator Christopher Bongo. I move that he be
Our
recognized.
distinguished colleague, Senator Christopher Bongo is recognized.
Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, as chairman of the Committee on Sports, it is with great pride and honor that I co-sponsor the Senate resolution commending and congratulating the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas led by SBP Chairman Senator Sani Angara. Siya po talaga ang nagsulong na madagdagan po ng pondo ang hosting nitong FIBA aside from being the chairman ng SBP. At talagang full support po ito si Senator Angara, lalong-lalo na po sa larangan ng sports. And of course, SBP President Al Panlilio, Executive Director Sani Barrios, and now Executive Director Erica D, PSC Chairman Dicky Bachman, and of course ang ating mga private sector led by Manny Pangilinan, Ramon Ang, Hansi, and all government agencies for the successful hosting of the 2023 FIBA World Cup, including Senator, our Majority Floor Leader, who hosted us opening po dun sa Bukawi, Bulacan, along with our Senate President. Ang lahat po ng mga senador, naging cheerleader po kami noon. I commend, of course, Senator Win, Senator JV, doon rin si Coach Senator Jinggoy Estrada, coach na yan ngayon. Senator Pia Cayetano, marami, Senator Mark, Senator Bato de la Rosa, pinaka malakas sumigaw to. Number 1 cheerleader po ito. At marami pang ibang mga kasamahan natin na
Huwag mo akong
suporta.
kalimutan, kasama kita.
Ano doon?
Ano,
of
bakit
course.
pa ba ako?
Ikaw yung leader namin doon.
Okay.
First game hanggang sa huling laro, nandoon po ang ating Senate President. Full support po sa ating SBP. And sa Senate Sentinels, number 1 cheerleader natin ang ating Senate President. I commend the unwavering commitment and tireless efforts of our men's national basketball team, the Gilas Pilipinas. Their remarkable display of skill and determination in the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup has undoubtedly redeemed our nation's standing in the game of basketball as they valiantly competed in the said international competition. Despite the challenges faced by the Gilas Pilipinas, which concluded their campaign with a 1-4 win-loss record, pero importante po yung pinakahuling panalo natin against China. Saludo po ako sa ating mga players, coaches, pati na rin po ang ating mga fans dahil nanaig po ang ating never say die attitude. At hindi tayo nawala ng pag-asa na makakuha ng puntos sa 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. At I am also proud of Gilas Pilipinas and congratulations for earning a spot in the Olympic qualifying tournament sa darating na July. Alam ko po na may kahit na konting pag-asa, meron pa po. Habang may pag-asa, laban pa rin po tayo. At alam kong ginagawa niyo po ito na lumalaban ng may puso. Kilala po ang mga ating mga basketballista na lumalaban ng may puso. Kahit hindi tayo pumasok mismo, nakuha natin ang momentum sa huling laban sa FIBA laban sa China tungo sa Asian Games, where we won gold in the men's basketball for the first time since 1962, which is 61 years ago. We beat China twice, FIBA and Asian Games, participating in these tournaments and even hosting provided us the needed push to excel in other competitions. At personal ko pong nasaksihan ang mga laro at laban ng ating bansa mismo po doon sa Asian Games, no? Kahit na kakakompete lang nila sa FIBA World. At I think 4 o 5 players lang po yung dinala sa lineup natin sa FIBA World. Lumaban pa rin at nag-champion. At ngayon, masaya po ako na pwede na rin pong maglaro muli si ang ating Pinoy naturalized player na si Justin Brownlee. Nanood po kami to uplift their spirit and boost their moral para lumakas ang kanilang kumpiyansa. Nandito po ang ating gobyerno para sila po ay suportahan. Masasabi ko po talaga na itong FIBA World Cup hosting ay isang successful event pag nagsama po ang ating gobyerno at ang ating pribadong sektor. Ako naman po bilang Vice Chair ng Committee on Finance at sa tulong po ng ating Finance Chair, Senator Angara, pinaglaban po natin na magkaroon ng karagdagang pondo ang pagdaraos po ng 2023 FIBA World Cup. Ito ay ipakita ang buong suporta ng gobyerno sa palarong ito. At marami pong gains po sa ating gobyerno, especially po sa tourism. Congratulations po sa lahat ng ating mga kasamahan dito sa Senado. Nakakatawa po talaga na makita at matunghayan na nagiging matagumpay ang isinagawang FIBA hosting. Patunay po na nagkakaisa ang ating bansa, malayo po ang ating mararating. Tulad noong 2019 SEA Games, led by then Speaker and now Senator Alan Cayetano. Napakaganda po ng hosting nung panahong yon. At itong FIBA, we have shown the world that we can host a global event of this magnitude. Almost 45 years na po ang nakalipas since our last FIBA hosting. And through the efforts of Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, the Philippines once again regained the hosting rights in a three-nation bid along with Japan and Indonesia. Indeed, when the private sector and the government work hand in hand, there is nothing that we can not achieve. At naalala ko nung 2019, nag-courtesy call po yung ating FIBA World officials. Nakipagkita po sila kay dating Pangulong Duterte, ayun with Sir Manny Pangilinan. Yun na po yung about 4 years prior to the actual hosting. At napag-usapan nga po nila itong hosting po ng ating bansa. This hosting did not only satisfy the Filipinos' hunger for basketball, but it was also an opportunity to boost our local tourism and our economy. In fact, the Philippines set a FIBA single game attendance record of 38,115 fans during the opening game against the Dominican Republic, surpassing the previous record set in 1994. As an avid sports enthusiast and basketball fan, let me reiterate my steadfast dedication for the advancement and promotion of national sports development program in the country through formulating relevant policies, extend assistance, and provide intervention to our Filipino athletes in harnessing their athletic potential for the betterment of Philippine sports in general, and cement our status as a sports powerhouse in Asia. Mr. President, this was definitely a momentous occasion we should all be proud of, and we hope this would not be the last. Kudos to the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, the SBP, venue handlers, down to every Filipino worker who contributed and to all the fans who participated. You are all part of this for showcasing what the Philippines can offer to the world. Special mention also goes to our athletes who exemplified the Filipinos' heart and fighting spirit. We also extend our gratitude to the entire international basketball community for placing their trust in the Philippines to host such a prestigious event of such caliber. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Maraming salamat, our distinguished colleague from Davao City. And
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. would just like to insert into the records his co-sponsorship speech. Maybe just place it on record. Also, Mr. President, I will be remissing my duty as Majority Leader of the Senate if I don't recognize our Gilas Pilipinas Hall of Famer, Mr. President, the councilor from my wife's hometown in Dinalupihan, Bataan. Gary El Granada David is in the house, Mr. President. We'd like to recognize.
welcome to your Senate, sir.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure is our resident athlete, former national athlete, at ayaw po niyang pumayag, Mr. President, na Basketball World Cup lang ang gagawin dito sa Pilipinas. No other than our dear colleague, Senator Pia Cayetano. I move that she be recognized,
Our
Mr. President.
distinguished colleague, our resident athlete, who can outrun any one of us here and outpace any one of us here. No other than Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, our Senate President can outwalk anyone. So kung walking,
Walking lang.
until midnight, hindi ho yan magpapatigil because I've experienced many official trips where we walk home, which is a great part of our experiences together. Anyway, Mr. President, it is my honor to stand before all of you today to co-sponsor Senate Resolution number 857, otherwise known as a resolution congratulating the FIBA for the successful hosting of the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup. Mr. President, my colleagues have put on record what we have achieved by hosting the World Cup. So let me just share some personal anecdotes and stories to complete the picture. Sometime in 2018, my brother Alan said to me, "I have an interesting project for you." Coming from Alan, and for those of you who know him, you never know what he means when he says he has something interesting. So in my mind, I was like, seryoso? Para sa akin or para sa'yo? What's interesting? Because what's interesting to me is not necessarily interesting to him and vice versa. But he said to me, "Promise you will love it." And as it turned out, the project was to bid for the FIBA World Cup in 2023. Remember, this is 2018. So in 2018, 5 years, ang layo pa niya, no? Ang layo pa. But the opportunity to be part of history and to join MVP and the SBB team was really too hard to resist. And so I joined them in late 2018, and we headed to Geneva for a series of visits to complete the bid. So with us, there was a not a very big group, but of course, the founder and chairman emeritus MVP was there, President Al Panlilio. In my first trip, Senator Sani Angara wasn't with us, but he was in the second trip where the official bid was made. And it was an interesting experience for me because I was able to use my experience as a world parliamentarian. We actually made the bid with co-hosts Indonesia and Japan. And our counterpart in Indonesia was actually a member of parliament. And so we also had the opportunity to have many exchanges, and he continues to be a friend to this day. And so on that fateful day, we made our bid with our co-hosts, Indonesia and Japan. We made our pitch, and then we had to wait. And the waiting was intense. If you recall, we were in the cafeteria. I think MVP was in and out of the important meetings, and then we had lunch, and then we waited, and we ate snacks, and we waited, and we ate more snacks, and we waited. And finally, we were called to hear the announcement. Well, the rest is history. Obviously, we won the bid. We were extremely elated. We were so happy. I mean, this is really something that I really had the honor to be a part of over the last few months. But clearly, MVP and the SBP group had really been working on this for already many years. So fast forward, in the photo that you see now is fast forward to 5 years later in 2023. And I believe this was the hosting in Taguig when the was it the team managers came to the bid, no, for the draw, the first night. Yeah, anyway, so this is the first night. So fast forward 5 years, here we are. And my colleagues have recounted the thrill of watching the games. It was a thrill for me as well. I belong to a basketball family. Everyone in my family, all the men, actually, to be clear, the men in my family play basketball. I play basketball, but this is the one sport that my brothers are actually better than me. I submit. But it was an amazing experience. The photo that you see on the right is my brother Ren, who is a varsity basketball player, and his son, who is also starting to shoot balls as well. And this just illustrates how basketball brings together families, communities, the whole country. In the other photo, the Senate President was probably busy with other people, but in the photo with me is his daughter, and we watched the games together. So sports really gives families an opportunity to be together, to bond, to cheer for their team. And like I always say, Mr. President, when we encounter challenges in our own country or in the region, there's one thing that unites us, and it's sports. It's the one time that we can all rally together and set aside the differences we have and be united. So I am such a believer, Mr. President, of what sports can do for our country. According to a news article, the effect of the hosting created an economic impact of 17.8 billion, 1.5 billion cumulative viewers on TV and live streaming, and 1.9 billion worth of media value for Manila as the host city. The Philippines recorded a record-breaking crowd of 38,115 fans during the opening ceremony, which I was happily a part of at the Philippine Arena. And this beat the previous record of 32,616 in 1994 World Cup in Canada. But Mr. President, I'd also like to focus on the unseen effects of the hosting of the World Cup. I have always believed that sports is a great equalizer. I've spoken about it many times. It gives young people the opportunity to discover their talents and change their future. The United Nations also states that sports is an important enabler of sustainable development. It contributes to the realization of development and peace and its promotion of tolerance and respect. It also makes contribution to the empowerment of women and of young people, individuals, and communities. Mr. President, as chairman of our Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, I need to emphasize that by hosting the World Cup, we create interest in being healthy. We create a desire to be able to move, if not like the athletes, maybe 5% of the way the athletes move. So it contributes to SDG 3 on good health. It contributes to SDG 4 on quality of education. Many players will share their story that despite family problems, despite difficulties in school, one reason that they wanted to go to school was to play their sport. And many of them have gone on to finish college, to become successful entrepreneurs because of sports, but which then enabled them to complete their education. SDG 5 on gender equality, although the hosting was for the World Cup men's edition, I'm sure the SBP will be more than happy to continue hosting more events for women as well. We actually had the 3-on-3, right? Which included women, right? Yeah, so there are many opportunities for women as well. And SDG 10, reduce inequalities, which, as I said, provides opportunities for those who may not have the same opportunities available to them. And SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Mr. President, as a former student athlete and a national athlete, I personally believe in sports transforming lives and communities. I thank MVP and the entire SBP group for putting the Philippines on the map as a World Cup host. This opens the door for many more hosting opportunities. It opens up tourism, creates jobs, and promotes our country. I wish I was at liberty to say which is the next World Cup hosting that we hope to have the privilege of doing, but that will have to wait for another time when the timing is right. So on that note, Mr. President, I end by thanking once again the FIBA Local Organizing Committee, of course, that's SBP, and all the government agencies in the private sectors for successfully hosting of the FIBA Basketball World Cup. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, our distinguished colleague, Senator Pia Cayetano, my walking partner, my late night walking partner. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, no member wishes to interpolate or ask any further question on this particular measure. And with the consent of the body, I move that I be recognized, Mr. President, to introduce just an amendment, Mr. President.
Yes.
So move, Mr.
The
President.
Majority Leader is recognized for her amendment.
Yes, Mr. President. On page 3, line 8, after President Alfredo S. Panlilio and the comma, I move to insert SBP Board of Trustees, Chairman Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara, and the comma. Mr. President, this is in recognition of our dear colleagues' invaluable contribution and efforts as chairperson of the SBP Board of Trustees and in advancing and promoting the sport and the successful hosting of the event. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection to the amendment is approved.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Just one little problem, we already printed out the signed copy, so what we'll do is just have another
Yes, Mr.
batch made,
President.
yes.
Thank you
To-
very much,
to
Mr.
store the
President.
amendment, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Bible says, give honor to whom honor is due, and so we want that to be placed on record, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move to adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 857, subject to style. I so move, Mr. President.
Before we adopt the resolution, I'd just like to say a few words, Majority Leader.
Please, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
first of all, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Al Panillo, of course, Mr. Barrios, the PSC, Vicky Bachman, all those in SBP that made it possible for this event to happen. It was a world-class event. I've not witnessed a NBA game yet. One day, actually I did, many years ago. I just remembered I did in Miami when I watched then Shaquille O'Neal was part of the Miami Heat a long time ago. But this experience watching the games in the Philippines with all these world-class basketball teams was amazing. And I'd like to thank SBP for providing us with the best seats in the house. And it's an experience I'll never forget. In many occasions, I was able to bring my children, and it was amazing how my children knew the players. I don't know the players anymore. We were during the time of Michael Jordan, and those were the people that we used to watch when we were younger. But the caliber of sportsmanship was amazing, world class indeed. And it was so nice to see so many small European countries, or smaller countries, beating sports giants like the US and other big name teams from other countries. I have to put my hat off to SBP and to all the organizers for a job well done. Really, it was really hard to beat. Kung sa APPF natin, when we had the Asia Pacific Parliamentary Forum, we did a good job also in hosting. Now nobody wants to host it because they felt that the Philippines really brought it above the bar of excellence. And the same thing goes for FIBA. I think those who will try to host it next time, I think will probably have a yeoman's job of trying to make it as successful as the Philippine experience. And I'm so happy to say that in all the 2 weeks that they were here, no untoward incidences. Thank God for that. We thank the PNP and all those in charge to protect the people who are watching and the tourists that came in. We also had no complaints from the tourists, maybe except for the traffic. But I guess even Coldplay was complaining about the traffic. That's something that I think we Filipinos and the world would have to live with for the next few years until we have our subway system. But for the meantime, I just want to say congratulations, guys. A job well done. Unbelievable. It's my first time to see an event like that hosted in the Philippines. Kaya pala natin gawin ito. And I think we should have more. And I know Pia is going to be hosting soon with her group. I don't want to announce. She's the one who's going to make the announcements. But we're looking forward to that as well. And without further ado, there being no objection to the motion of the majority floor leader, I think we were supposed to do this sooner rather than later, but I think we had to wait for everybody to come together. And we're hoping that one day we can also fet the team because they did a great job. I mean, we may have had a difficult time winning some of the games, but I think the last game that they won, the last and only game they won was, I think for me, the best game of the whole tournament. And I think it was awe-inspiring, which they were able to do again in the Asian Games. So I think we're going to invite you again, Mr. Panillo here, together with your group, maybe also for an award to be given to the team for their Asian Games feat of winning the gold medal, best in Asia. So without further ado, proposed Senate Resolution number 857 is hereby adopted by the Senate. Congratulations.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I move that all members of the Senate be made co-authors of this resolution? I so move, Mr. President.
There be no objection to the motion. All members of the Senate is hereby made co-authors of the resolution.
May I ask for a minute suspension and to allow also our guests to receive the commendation of this August chamber.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
session is suspended.
President, at this juncture, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders, Committee Report number 186 on Senate Bill number 2513. This bill pertains to the Kawayan Act. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 2513 under Committee Report number 186 and ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
There being no objection, motion is approved. Secretary, please read the title of the measure.
An act institutionalizing the bamboo industry development in the Philippines and appropriating funds therefore.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, I move that we recognize Senator Mark Villar, Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, to deliver the sponsorship speech. I so move, Mr.
Our
President.
distinguished colleague, Senator Mark Villar of the city of Las Piñas is recognized.
Mr. President and my esteemed colleagues, our honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good afternoon to you all. Dear Mr. President, before I start, I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude to our dear colleagues for your steadfast support of the recently enacted Internet Transactions Act. It is through your consistent help that we are able to pass this landmark legislation for digital transactions. Now, I stand here with all of you again to earnestly appeal for your support for yet another consequential legislation, the institutionalization of the bamboo industry development in the Philippines, or the Kawayan Act. Allow me to present the potential of bamboo and its capacity to transform not just the national economy, but the Philippines' place in the global bamboo industry. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on earth and is widely distributed across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Due to its nature of rapid production, it is transformed into various types of products with more than 10,000 applications. Bamboo is also widely used in construction, landscaping, and is a good source of nutritious food. Other bamboo products include handicrafts, food utensils, mat boards, paper and pulp, textiles, biomass, pellets, and engineered bamboo, which can even be used to build an entire modular house. It is important to note that the annual bamboo trade value was estimated to be about $70 billion in 2020 and is expected to reach $88.43 billion by 2030. The bamboo industry could potentially contribute $3.5 billion to the Philippine economy, approximating gold, copper, and nickel production. In 2020 alone, the Philippines was the largest exporter of wood made of bamboo, which is used in builders' joinery and carpentry products. It accounts for almost 70% of global exports and has a trade value of $113.5 million. Currently, we have 62 species of bamboo in the country, 21 of which are endemic or native, while the rest were introduced from other countries such as China, and 11 species bearing high economic value. Due to our favorable environmental conditions, some sources even claim that the Philippines has the best bamboo species in the world. In an international perspective, 7 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations are closely related to bamboo, including poverty eradication, affordable and clean energy, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, terrestrial life, and global partnerships. One of the essential benefits of bamboo is its climate change mitigation capacity. Bamboo releases 38% more oxygen than trees and sequesters 12 to 17 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare. Thus, it is an efficient pollution control, especially in dense urban areas, in addition to its ability to prevent erosion. Considering the economic potentials and environmental values of bamboo, it is time that we pursue further efforts that will develop the Philippine bamboo industry. At present, government agencies such as the DTI, DOST, DENR, and DA implement their own research and development programs in an attempt to address the insufficiency of information and data resources, among others. Yet, these initiatives are fragmented, and this is worsened by the perception of the private sector for a lack of functional government body overseeing the development of the industry, thus hindering its optimization. As such, together with our esteemed authors of the bill, we are seeking your support for the Kawayan Act, also known as the Bamboo Industry Development Act. The Kawayan Act aims to promote and support industries that generate employment, especially in rural areas, reduce poverty, foster a sustainable environment, integrate cultural development, and mitigate the impacts of climate change. The bill seeks to institutionalize the Philippine Bamboo Industry Development Council, which was created by Executive Order 879 to serve as a central body for overall policy and program direction for all bamboo stakeholders. The council is also mandated to formulate and implement the Philippine Bamboo Industry Development Roadmap, similar to the proposals of Senate President Mig Subiri, Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Bong Revilla for a strengthened and empowered council. In the committee report crafted after several public hearings, technical working group sessions, and consultative meetings, this measure reconstitutes the council to include only the core agencies for operational efficiency, ensures that the roadmap is comprehensive, delineates the roles of relevant sectors aligned with the Philippine Development Plan, and provides for substantial and attractive incentives to encourage investments in the bamboo industry. To address issues raised by stakeholders, the roadmap will now be guided with actionable, time-bound, and reasonable objectives. Ensure sufficient supply of bamboo raw materials, establish competitive bamboo enterprises, improve income through bamboo-based communities, establish policy environments supportive of the industry, use bamboo for sustainable environment and mitigate climate change, capitalize on the potential economic contribution of bamboo and inclusive growth, and stimulate expansion through attractive incentives. Vital to these goals, the DENR will be mandated to use bamboo as the planting material for 25% of its annual reforestation and rehabilitation programs, and the Mines and Geosciences Bureau will encourage mining contractors and permit holders to plant bamboo outside the disturbed areas in mining sites. These are consistent with the advocacies and proposed measures of Senate President Pro Tempore Loren Legarda, Senators Cynthia Villar, Pia Cayetano, and Risa Ontiveros. On the other hand, the DTI, DOT, and their attached agencies will be required to scale up investment promotions through extensive marketing and trade campaigns for bamboo and bamboo products. Research and development will also take center stage, with DOST leading the studies and innovations for marketable bamboo products and sustainable practices. Finally, DepEd will be directed, as far as practicable, to procure school desks and armchairs made of bamboo, and government facilities shall consider using bamboo furniture and fixtures when feasible. These are in support of the proposals highlighted by Senate President Pro Tempore Loren Legarda, Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva, Senator Cynthia Villar, Win Gatchalian, and Lito Lapid. Mr. President, we are glad to inform the body that the previous concerns of the DOF regarding incentives for the development of the bamboo industry have already been addressed and are now reflected in the committee report. I would like to thank our distinguished Minority Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, for championing the bill for the Bamboo Industry Development Act in the 18th Congress. Following the call for stronger industry support, the Kawayan Act stipulates these significant incentives envisioned to stimulate the expansion of the bamboo industry, such as mandatory classification of bamboo production and processing as preferred areas of investment under BOI's Strategic Investment Priority Plan, exemption on payment of tenurial rent on public land for bamboo nurseries and plantations, exemption on payments of forest charges for bamboo plantations on public lands. Bamboo produce will be accepted as loan security. Bamboo developers and processors will have priority access to credit assistance and guarantee schemes. Removal of the cutting and transporting requirements for bamboo. Insurance coverage of bamboo by the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation. reasonable compensation to plantation owners with tenurial agreements for capital improvements in case of premature termination. This legislative effort to develop the Philippine bamboo industry has been pending in this chamber since the 16th Congress. For this purpose, Mr. President, I appeal to the esteemed members of this august chamber for your full support to immediately pass this bill. I believe that it is high time that we finally pass this bill to unlock the full potential of the Philippine bamboo industry and ultimately help the lives of many, many Filipinos while protecting the environment. Through the Kawayan Act, we can look forward to a Philippine economy that stands as mighty and grows as rapidly as the bamboo does. Similarly, the development of our bamboo industry mirrors the persisting Filipino resilience amid various challenges. No matter what hinders us, no matter what sways and bends us, we will continue to push forward towards progress and development. In closing, I would like to express my gratitude to the authors of the Kawayan Act, Senate President Mig Subiri, Senate President Pro Tempore Loren Legarda, Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Win Gatchalian, Senator Lito Lapid, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Senator Bong Revilla, and to our counterparts in the House of Representatives for approving on third reading House Bill number 7941. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Mark Villar, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, to co-sponsor the measure is our distinguished Senate President, the leader of this institution, Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Our Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri is recognized.
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Mr. President. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, late last year, we ratified the Philippine Salt Industry Development Act, building a framework for the revitalization of our salt industry. Now, I hope we can do the same for the bamboo industry through the Philippine Bamboo Industry Development Act or the Kawayan Act, which I'm proud to be sponsoring today. It's not just me in this chamber, even Senate Minority Floor Leader Coco Pimentel was my kaakbay, my kasama when we were trying to pass this as well in the previous Congresses. This has long been my advocacy starting in the 17th Congress when I first pushed for this bill as chairperson of the Committee on Trade and Commerce. The bamboo plant, Mr. President, has long been held as a great cultural importance for us, being part of architecture and design, our visual arts and music, our handicrafts, our farming and fishing tools, even our cuisine. Bamboo products, you know, Your Honors, are bamboo products from simple handicrafts to even specialized construction materials. Wala lang po akong nakalimutan ko kumuha ng mga litrato, pakipakita niyan po, Mr. President. They use it now for cladding walls, engineered bamboo for cladding walls that give it a wooden feel. They utilize also flooring. Before I renovated my house, Mr. President, my old house was utilizing bamboo flooring. Na mukhang hardwood floors, pero engineered bamboo lang po siya to look like hardwood floors. They are now so modernized when they create construction materials with the engineered bamboo, they can actually use it for structural materials. So, yung beams po para sa roofing, pwede na po siya engineered bamboo, ganun katibay. It is almost as strong as steel. As a matter of fact, we required for the Bukidnon Airport in Bukidnon, in Don Carlos Bukidnon, for the terminal that they utilize engineered bamboo inside the structure to highlight the importance of bamboo in our province, from our province. We're even producing, believe it or not, Mr. President, and I know the DOST Secretary is here, Secretary Solidum, they're producing, or they're in the stage of producing bulletproof panels for Special Forces units. Kasi hindi po siya mabigat. Pero ano pa, under testing stage Kasi nabubutas pa yata ng konti. Pero malapit nang hindi mabutas. Malapit. But it can actually, it is strong enough, the panels are strong enough to prevent pistol rounds, 9mm, 45, di na makalusot. But we're trying to strengthen it enough to be able to withstand even rifle rounds with engineered bamboo. Imagine, light but sturdy. So just a little food for thought. Maybe one day I can get the research and show it to my colleagues in the lounge. Bamboo is such a large part of our history and culture, and I believe in its great potential to also play a large role in our future. But in order for that to happen, we have to exhaust all our efforts to ensure not only the survival, but also the resilient growth of our bamboo industry. I come from the province of Bukidnon, which is one of the top 3 producers of bamboo across the country, after Pangasinan and Tarlac. The home of the Dendrocalamus asper, the giant bamboo variety found only in our province and the province of South Cotabato. It's almost, if you can see this picture po, Your Honors, ganito kakapal siya. It's like bigger than a human torso. It's about 100 feet tall. Imagine 10 stories tall. And it's a sight to see on its own. We have a thriving, in the province, we have a thriving bamboo industry, but its continued growth is hampered by a number of factors. To put it simply, the bamboo industry has pretty much been left on its own devices. While groups like the Philippine Bamboo Industry Development Council do exist, which they joined us today, they are not at the level of the Philippine Coconut Authority, for instance, or the Sugar Regulatory Administration. So the bamboo industry, for however active and productive it is, has no mechanism for cross-country cooperation. Development is piecemeal, with different groups pursuing different goals. Local industry players are largely unable to come together to share scientific breakthroughs, best practices, new technologies, and so on. With little to no government funding for bamboo research and development, scientific advancement is left on the back burner, which then means we cannot effectively modernize the field. We also cannot empirically assess the industry, everything from its raw materials, its employment rates, its exports, its economic performance for our country. And without knowing this information, we, Mr. President, cannot expect to be able to plot a roadmap forward. We even have to look at, my dear colleagues, amending the building code to add specifications for bamboo, engineered bamboo for construction. Tama po ako, Secretary, no? That's our next step. After we approve this, we have to look at amending the building code to allow engineered bamboo for use in construction, because right now it's not allowed. Well, it's not that it's not allowed, but it's not mentioned, and therefore, if you utilize it, it's in violation of the building code. Under this Kawayan Act, we are now going to institutionalize the Philippine Bamboo Development Council to be headed by the Secretary of Trade and Industry. So yun na po yung sagot, Senator Pimentel, my dear colleague, Senator Coco, because that was our big debate before. Was it going to be the DA? Was it going to be the DNR or the DTI? And in this version, it shall be the Secretary of Trade and Industry. And have it lead the nation's efforts to put the bamboo industry on track to unprecedented development. With this bill, or under this bill, we will mandate the bamboo industry mechanization, for instance, that is the provision of machinery and equipment to help heighten the efficiency of bamboo planting and processing. We will also create an integrated bamboo information system to serve as a database for analyzing growth in the industry. I wish I could show here the house of Malu Acosta. You know Malu Acosta of Bukidnon? Malu Acosta Alba. The husband is the congressman now, Joman Alba. He has the very famous bamboo house in Bukidnon. We have all our meetings there, and he even had recently the Miss Earth pageant candidates were there as well. We will also be setting up incentives for the sector, such as exemptions for forest charges, cutting and transport permits, and even payment for rent for public lands used in commercial bamboo plantations. Yes, my dear colleagues, because cutting and transport permits can be confusing. When you have a bamboo plantation, even in your garden, when you cut the bamboo poles, minsan ang pumipigil po sa'yo sa daan ay DNR, minsan DA, kung sino-sino po ang pumipigil sa'yo at humihingi na iba't ibang mga papeles. So at least with this law, we can come up with the rationalization of all these permits. On top of this, we'll apportion 20% of the DOST's small and medium enterprise assistance funds just for bamboo-based enterprises. With these incentives, we hope to encourage more planters and investors to come to the bamboo sector and help make the Philippines an even more competitive bamboo producer, not just in Southeast Asia, but across the globe. I even have a story of in the town of Malitbug in Bukidnon, they're now heavily into bamboo plantations. Yung natalong si Ma'am Cindy, I forget, my COS is there. What's her last name? My COS is talking to my staff. Si Ma'am Cindy, Councilor, what's her last name? Ni Ma'am Cindy, ran for mayor. She lost in Malitbug, unfortunately. But you know, she's so happy because she entered the bamboo industry and she's now making, I think, I don't know, baka mahuli siya ng BIR. Pero di ko na babanggitin yung pangalan. Pero yung, according to her, she's now making from nothing to 500,000 pesos a month in producing bamboo and selling it to the market. With these incentives, we hope to encourage more planters, more investors to come into the bamboo sector and help make Philippines an even more competitive bamboo producer, not just in Southeast Asia, but across the globe. At the moment, we are already the 6th largest bamboo exporter in the world. Despite limited government support, we have been able to reach that high in the ranking. With the passage of the Kawayan Act, I am sure that we will climb up these ranks and establish ourselves as a truly formidable force in the global bamboo sector, especially with all these new products coming into light. What we did, Mr. President, for the salt industry, let us do it for the bamboo industry. Maraming salamat, Mr. President and my dear colleagues.
Thank you, our Senate President, Juan Miguel Zubiri, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure is the distinguished lady from Antique, our Senate President Pro Temp. But before I move for her recognition, may I just ask that we recognize also her guest, NCCA Commissioner Ivan Linares, and Antique Electric Cooperative officials who are present here today.
Yes, those guests mentioned by the Majority Leader are welcome to the Senate.
So, President, at this juncture, I move that we recognize to co-sponsor the measure our Senate President Pro Tem, Senator Loren Legarda. So move, Mr. President.
Senate President Pro Temp, Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized.
Mr. President, the distinguished lady from Antique wishes to just insert into the records her co-sponsorship speech.
The co-sponsorship speech of Senator Legarda is inserted in the records.
Sir President, I move that we recognize to co-sponsor the measure Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. So move, Mr. President.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is recognized to co-sponsor the measure.
Mr. President, esteemed members of this chamber, a pleasant day to you all. Today, I join my colleague, Senator Mark Villar, the sponsor of this bill, as well as my co-authors, in advocating for landmark legislation that will usher in a new era of prosperity and sustainability for our country. This is the Kawayan Act, a bill that will transform the Philippine bamboo industry into a pillar of our economy, a source of our pride, and a solution to our environmental challenges. Bamboo, with its rapid growth and remarkable strength, has been utilized by our ancestors for various purposes, from constructing homes, crafting furniture, and creating musical instruments, to weaving baskets and handicrafts. Ang kapasidad ng kawayan ay hindi lamang para sa konstruksyon, kundi pati na rin sa sining at industriya. In recent years, we have seen a resurgence in the use of bamboo due to its eco-friendly nature. Businesses are exploring bamboo-based products, promoting sustainable livelihoods, and supporting local communities. In fact, according to the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources Research and Development, the Philippines is considered as the sixth largest exporter of bamboo in the world, producing an average of 36 million culms per year. Ang paggamit ng kawayan sa iba't ibang industriya ay hindi lamang nakatutulong sa kalikasan, kundi pati na rin sa pag-angat ng kabuhayan ng ating mga kababayan at pagpapalago ng ating ekonomiya. Despite this promising trajectory, we have yet to fully leverage bamboo's potential to reap its multifaceted benefits. There remains untapped opportunity to develop its value chain, innovate its products, and effectively market its quality. That is why we need the Kawayan Act. This bill will create the Philippine Bamboo Industry Development Council, a body that will oversee and coordinate the efforts of various government agencies, private sector, and civil society to boost the bamboo industry. The Bamboo Council will formulate and implement the Philippine Bamboo Industry Development Roadmap, a 5-year plan that will lay out the vision, goals, strategies, and programs for the bamboo industry. The roadmap will cover all aspects of the bamboo industry, from production, utilization, propagation, to marketing and promotion of bamboo and bamboo products. With this proposed measure, we will unleash the power of bamboo to create jobs, foster a sustainable environment, integrate cultural development, and mitigate the impacts of climate change. We will make the Philippines a leader and a model in the global bamboo community. We will make bamboo a symbol of our national identity and a source of our national pride. Let us embrace the beauty of bamboo, not just as a resource, but as a symbol of sustainability, resilience, and Filipino ingenuity. Sa pagtangkilik at paggamit natin ng kawayan, tayo ay hindi lamang nagtataguyod ng ating kultura, kundi lumilikha rin ng landas tungo sa isang mas maunlad na kinabukasan. Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Thank you, Senator Gatchalian. Mr. President, this representation would like to co-sponsor the measure together with Senator Pia Cayetano, but we would just like to insert into the records our co-sponsorship speech. Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure is the gentleman from the great province of Cavite, no other than Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague from Cavite, the great province of Cavite, Senator Bong Revilla, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we thank the good sponsor, Senator Mark Villar. As one of the authors of this measure, we fully support this important leap we are taking towards strengthening our bamboo industry. Kinikilala natin ang kahalagahan at payak, ngunit tunay na makabuluhang industriyang ito sa ating bansa. Bamboo is considered to be one of the most economically important non-timber forest products globally. At hitik na hitik ang ating bansa sa kawayan dahil ayon sa Department of Science and Technology, DOST, mayaman ang ating bansa dito at meron nga tayong 62 endemic bamboo species. We are the 6th among the largest exporters of bamboo in the world. At sinasalamin nito ang mga potensyal na maaari pa nating pagyabungin upang mas marami pa ang makikinabang, Ginoong Pangulo. Ang magandang hakbang itong panukalang nakahain sa hapong ito upang makalikha pa ng estratehiya na siguraduhing puksain ang mga balakid na humahadlang upang lubusan nating mapakinabangan ang industriyang ito. We know that many challenges continue to beset this industry, such as its susceptibility to insect and fungal attack. It's been said that there is also a lack of modern technology and equipment to process bamboo, which hampers the opportunity to fully unleash the potentials of this industry. And this is exactly what this proposed measure seeks to address. Let us invest in this industry and small farmers behind it. Tayo ang magiging kakampi ng mga magsasaka sa likod ng industriya ng kawayan dahil alam natin sa husay at sipag ng mga Pilipino. Kaya nating makipagpaligsahan sa daigdig. Through this measure, we are not only enriching and nurturing the Philippine bamboo industry, we are making it globally competitive, Mr. President. Mayahan tulad nga ang Pinoy sa kawayan, kayang yumuko at sumayaw sa ihip ng buhay, hindi mababali ng anumang hampas ng daluyong, hindi magigiba ng anumang tindi ng panahon. At ang suporta sa industriyang ito ay sumasagisag sa ating masidhing pagpapahalaga sa ating mga masisipag at matsatsagang mga magsasaka. Magsasaka na gaya ng kawayan ay matibay ang loob at matayog ang pangarap. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo.
Thank you, Senator Revilla. Mr. President, Senator Robin Hood Padilla would also just like to insert into the records his co-sponsorship speech. Let it be placed on record, Mr. President. Mr. President, to allow our colleagues to study further the measure, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 2513 under Committee Report number 186. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
President, this juncture, I move that we transfer from calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders, Committee Report number 189 on Senate Bill number 2528. This is the bill amending and adding new sections of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 2528 under Committee Report number 189 and ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
There being no objection to the motion, motion is approved. Secretary, please proceed to read the title.
An act amending sections 105, 108, 109, 110, 113, 114, 115, and 236, and adding new sections 108-A and 108-B of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, to deliver his sponsorship speech.
Our distinguished colleague, Chairperson of the Committee on Ways and Means, Senator Gatchalian, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand today to share with you a landmark legislation that will usher in a new era of digital taxation in our country. For us to better understand the implication of the proposed measure that we are sponsoring today, let us first consider the impact and relevance of digital services in our daily lives. Mula sa pag-ehersisyo sa umaga habang nakikinig ng mga workout songs sa Spotify hanggang sa panunood ng mga trending na series sa Netflix bilang pampaantok sa gabi, masasabi nating kinain na talaga tayo ng sistema sa paggamit ng digital services. These digital service providers have seamlessly woven themselves into the fabric of our existence, enticing our interest, influencing our social interaction, and even shaping our knowledge. In recent years, the growing digital economy in our country has become increasingly apparent. For instance, from 2018 to 2022, the revenue generated from digital media increased by an average of 19%, reaching a staggering 78.2 billion pesos, primarily stimulated by revenue from video games. Ngunit sa kabila ng mabilis na pag-unlad at malawak na impluwensya ng digital services sa ating bansa, ang ating mga regulasyon sa buwis ay bigong makasabay. In accordance with Section 108 of the Tax Code, sale of services performed in the Philippines are subject to value-added tax. Digital service providers, whether resident or non-resident, should be subject to VAT since they are sellers of services in our country. However, due to the ambiguity in the law, the taxability of non-resident digital service providers becomes unclear. Bilang resulta, hindi namamandato ang mga non-resident digital service providers na magbayad ng 12% VAT. In the advent of digitalization, determining where digital services are performed becomes challenging, leading to uncertainty if these services should be taxed in the Philippines. As digital workflows and service chains become more complex, the multi-layered processes occurring across various jurisdictions pose challenges in determining the precise physical location where a service is performed. Sa ganitong konteksto, paano natin masasabi kung aling jurisdiksyon ang dapat magpataw ng buwis? Paano natin masasabi na ito ay ginawa sa Pilipinas kung ang proseso bago ito makarating sa atin ay ginawa sa iba't ibang bansa? At this point, allow me to discuss the repercussions of this ambiguity, raising various concerns in our taxation system and even in the aspect of the economy. First of all, failure to impose and collect tax on non-resident digital service providers contradicts the fundamental principles of equitable taxation. It generates an imbalance between domestic and foreign service providers, placing local businesses at a disadvantage. Gawin nating halimbawa ang mga streaming platform. Here we have local platforms like I Want TFC and VivaMax, providing digital services where users pay a subscription fee to stream and watch video content. Take note that these local streaming platforms are subject to VAT, as clearly stated in our tax code, highlighting the uneven playing field between local and non-resident digital service providers. On the other hand, we are also availing of the services of their foreign counterparts. Alam kong marami sa atin ang guilty sa pag-subscribe sa mga international streaming platforms tulad ng Netflix at HBO Go. Lalo na tayong mga Pinoy ay mahilig sa pag-movie marathon ng mga international shows and series kasama ang pamilya o mga kaibigan. In fact, according to the 2020 analysis of UK-based price comparison service Uswitch, the Philippines is the third best country in the world and the best in Southeast Asia to have a Netflix subscription in terms of price and variety of content. Citing also the first quarter 2020 report of Statista, Netflix is the most popular streaming service among Filipinos with about 31% of the market share. But despite their domination in the country's subscription-based video streaming market, there's one reality that we must consider. Non-resident digital service providers, including well-known streaming platforms, Netflix and HBO Go, do not pay 12% VAT for the services consumed here in the Philippines. Nagbabayad na nga tayo sa kanila ng subscription fee, wala pang mandato ang nagdidikta na dapat silang magbayad ng buwis. Talaga namang bukod sa pinagpala sa tax advantage ang mga non-resident digital service providers dito sa ating bansa. This situation also hampers the government's ability to adequately collect taxes from the growing digital economy. According to the latest estimates of the Department of Finance, as presented in the 2024 Economic Outlook briefing, implementing VAT on digital service providers has the potential to generate an additional 83.8 billion pesos from 2024 to 2028. Isipin na lang natin kung ilang proyekto at programa ng gobyerno ang maaring mapaglaanan ng pondong ito. As the digital economy continues to expand, numerous countries have also revamped their tax frameworks to capture revenue from digital transactions and services. Notably, within Southeast Asia, 6 out of 11 countries have already implemented either VAT on digital goods and services tax on digital services, aligning their tax policies with the evolving nature of digital commerce. From the global perspective, based on KPMG's Taxation of Digitalized Economy report as of 2024, VAT or GST on digital services has been implemented by 101 countries, while 15 countries already have draft legislation or in the process of public consultation. In fact, some of these countries are members of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which provides detailed guidance in the design and implementation of robust policies for the application of VAT to digital trade and services. Sa bawat pag-usbong ng makabagong digital services, lagi tayong updated. Pero sa pagpapataw sa kanila ng nararapat na buwis, tayo naman ang outdated. Yun ang Pangulo, hindi kasalanan ng mga non-resident digital service provider kung bakit wala silang binabayarang VAT sa ating bansa. Sadyang may butas lang talaga sa mga batas natin kaya hindi klarong namamandato na dapat silang magbayad ng buwis. This underscores the need for legislation that will clarify that digital service providers provided for by non-resident digital service providers are subject to VAT in the Philippines if it is consumed within our borders. Aiming to address this gray area in the treatment of services rendered by non-resident digital service providers, I rise today to sponsor Senate Bill number 2528. Primarily, this bill clarifies the VAT liability of non-resident digital service providers on the sale, exchange, or barter of digital services consumed in the Philippines, thereby reinforcing the BIR's power to impose and collect VAT on digital services and transactions. To clarify, Mr. President, this proposed measure is not a new tax imposition. Ulitin ko ho, sa panukalang ito, hindi tayo magpapataw ng bagong buwis. Kinukolekta lang natin ang buwis na dapat naman talaga nating nakokolekta mula sa mga non-resident digital service providers. Under this proposed measure, we aim to outline the following key aspects. The bill seeks to define clearly the terms digital service provider, and non-resident digital service provider. Sa pamamagitan nito, magiging klaro at tiyak ang mga serbisyong nakapaloob sa digital service. With these definitions being clear, tax authorities can enforce the tax rules effectively and fairly to the digital service providers. In addition to this provision related to clarity, this bill also requires all digital service providers, whether resident or non-resident, to assess, collect, and remit VAT on digital services that are consumed in the Philippines, subject to the rules on withholding of VAT. A VAT-registered non-resident digital service provider will be liable to remit the VAT on digital services that are consumed in the Philippines if the consumer is a non-VAT registered. This way, the direct consumers are not required to go to the BIR to pay VAT. A different approach will also be applied to business-to-business transactions. For instance, if a VAT-registered non-resident corporation buys materials through Amazon, the reverse charge mechanism will apply. It will then be the VAT-registered taxpayer who shall be liable to withhold and remit the VAT. Another principle that this bill aims to touch on is the streamlining of various processes. Specifically, the bill mandates VAT-registered non-resident digital service providers to issue digital sales or commercial invoices for the sale of all digital services consumed in the Philippines with simplified requirements. Through this bill, we also aim to empower the Commissioner of the BIR with the ability to block and suspend digital services of digital service providers that will be found in violation of VAT provisions. The implementation of such suspensions is entrusted to the DICT through the NTC. Sa madaling salita, walang lusot ang anumang uri ng paglabag sa batas, mapa-digital service provider man o traditional. Further, the bill reinforces the traditional exemptions granted, which were reasonably extended to certain digital services from VAT, such as online educational services, including online courses, seminars, and training by accredited private or government educational institutions, as well as the sales of online subscription-based services to government educational institutions, including DepEd, CHED, and TESDA, among others. Lastly, this proposed measure includes a provision pertaining to the deemed supplier rule, wherein the non-resident digital service providers who are classified as online marketplace or e-marketplace are required to withhold and remit VAT on transactions that go through its platform. This provision is applicable when when the seller is non-resident and the buyer is in the Philippines. Mr. President, with these provisions, our ultimate objective is clear. We are committed to paving the way for a level playing field. We believe in the importance of creating an environment where our digital service provider, whether they are resident or local, whether they are non-resident or local, operate under fair and square tax policies. At this juncture, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the author of this proposed measure, Senator Pia Cayetano, for her contribution in drafting this legislation. As the chairman of the committee, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the active participation of numerous public and private stakeholders for the invaluable contribution following a public hearing and 5 technical working group meetings. The time for change is now. Let us revisit our tax policies to steer our country toward unparalleled economic growth and development. Let us rewrite the rules to pave the way for a flourishing digital economy that benefits every Filipino. Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Thank you very much, distinguished sponsor.
Mr. President, Senate President Pro Tempore Lauren Ligara wishes to just insert to the records her co-sponsorship speech.
Yes, we take note of that. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President, next to deliver her privilege speech is our Senate President Pro Tempore Senator Lauren Ligara. I move that she be recognized.
Is this, I thought we were going to insert into the records.
Yes, I move for the previous motion, Mr. President.
So
To
she's
insert
going
the-
to read her speech instead.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right.
Now she will insert to the records her co-sponsorship
Speech.
co-sponsorship
So
speech.
therefore, you want to
This one.
suspend muna this measure, consideration?
Yes, yes,
So our
I move
colleagues
to
will-
suspend the consideration of this measure as well.
Yes, there's no objection to the motion. Senate Bill number 2528 is suspended.
Next to deliver her privilege speech is our Senate President Pro Tempore Lauren Legarda. I move that she be recognized.
Yes, our distinguished colleague, our Senate President Pro Tempore, the hardworking, intelligent, and culture-loving Senator of the Philippines, no other than Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized. Wearing a bamboo outfit. Is that a bamboo material? Oh, that is from my wife, yes. Very nice, beautiful. It's made out of which material, madam? Would
It's
you-
piña, Mr.
Piña,
President.
very nice,
Piña.
very beautiful.
And you're invited to view our exhibit. But thank you very much. Yes, it's National Arts Month, this month of February. And our friends and colleagues from government, from the different sectors and agencies of government are still with us in the gallery. My beloved fellow Filipinos, I stand before you today with pride and joy as we celebrate National Arts Month 2024 here in the hallowed halls of the Senate. National Arts Month is celebrated every February as promulgated by virtue of Presidential Proclamation 683, signed in 1991. The proclamation underscores the need to preserve, enrich, and evolve disciplines of theater, dance, music, visual arts, architecture, literature, media arts, and film in a climate of free artistic and intellectual expression. I grew up in an environment immersed in art and culture, thanks to my late mother, Bessie Helia Bautista Legarda. Through her love for art and culture, I've had the privilege of meeting respected Filipino artists. My childhood was a vibrant canvas painted with experiences in artists, studios, and galleries of renowned artists like H.R. Ocampo, Vicente Manansala, Ibarra de la Rosa, and many more. Individuals whose art significantly contributed to shaping our national identity. Understanding and valuing arts and culture are important in fostering a deep connection to our surroundings, a sense of pride in our roots, and unity, enabling us to embrace our diversity while celebrating our shared heritage. Bilang ating pakikiisa, sa pagdiriwang ng pambansang buwan ng mga sining, naglunsad tayo sa linggong ito ng 2 exhibit na magbabahagi ng kahangahangang talino at sining ng Pilipino. Mga exhibit na nagsasalarawan ng kahalagahan ng kultura at tradisyon sa paghubog at pagpapalalim ng sining sa bansa. Today, we launch Kathabi, a textile innovation that highlights the latest innovation in Philippine textiles, especially on the use of natural textile fibers like abaca, bamboo, banana, and pineapple for various textile applications. This is one of the initiatives to promote our country's natural fibers and fabrics, enrich our culture, and contribute to the growth of our local fiber industry as stipulated under Republic Act 9242 or the Philippine Tropical Fabrics Law. Another exhibit that we opened today is the Buhay na Dunong, Bukal ng Sining, to salute and cherish the notable achievement of the Aklan Piña handloom weaving. We welcomed and celebrated the great news of Aklan Piña weaving's inscription on the UNESCO representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity last December 2023, as it recognizes and honors the diversity of Philippine craft traditions and culture in a context of world heritage. Looking back in 2008, the hudhud of the Ifugao and the rangan of the Maranao at Lake Lanao were included. In 2015, the punok or tugging ritual of the Ifugao was also added. Besides these, several ICH elements have been listed on the UNESCO list of ICH, including the buklog of the Subanon, which was added to the list of ICH in need of urgent safeguarding in 2019, and the School of Living Traditions, which was included in the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices in 2021. Over the years, I've actively supported these causes and personally argued and spiritedly made a case for their significance. May these exhibits express our utmost sincerity and participation in celebrating National Arts Month. Isa lang ito sa maraming patunay na kapag pinagtutuunan natin ng pansin ang ating kultura, lilikha tayo ng isang pambansang espasyo kung saan ang sining ay magiging malawak na bahagi ng ating kolektibong pagkakakilanlan at malikhaing pagpapahayag. The framing of the theme of Yearly Arts Month, led by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, Ani ng Sining, strongly evokes the convergence of arts, culture, and nature. One cannot exist without the other. Napakatingkad ng bisa ng kalikasan sa kultura dahil dito nahuhubog ang ating tradisyon at paraan ng pamumuhay. Ang mga likas na yaman ay hugpungan ng ating pagkatao at kabuhayan. Higit sa lahat, matitiyak lamang natin ang mayamang ani ng sining kung kolektibo tayong nananawagan, kumikilos, at nagtutulong-tulong bilang bansa. I also aspire for increased awareness and patronage towards slow fashion, exemplified by local brands that seamlessly integrate Filipino artisanship, advocate for sustainability in fashion, and proudly showcase Philippine culture on global platforms. By prioritizing eco-friendly materials such as organic cotton, bamboo, hemp, and recycled fabrics, we can significantly decrease our reliance on resource-intensive materials like conventional cotton and synthetic fibers. It not only helps our local producers, but also plays a vital role in environmental conservation. Embracing such practices not only contributes to the well-being of our community, but also showcases our commitment to responsible and culturally rich fashion choices on an international scale. Kaya po ako'y galak na galak sa ginagawa ng DOST PTRI na meron ding exhibit dito sa ating hall today. Tuwan-tuwa po ako sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno nandito, namely DOST PTRI, NCCA, kasama na rin ang National Museum. Sila po ang mga masisipag, magagaling at mga dedicated na mga ahensya ng gobyerno nagpapatibay sa ating kultura. Nais ko ding gamitin ang pagkakataong ito para kumalap ng suporta at tulong para sa ating mga lokal na magsasaka at nangangalaga ng kultura ng pamagduman. Ang pamagduman ay paraan ng pagtatanim ng malagkit na bigas na sinasagawa ng munting komunidad sa Santa Monica, Pampanga. For centuries, the Magduduman have been tirelessly working to protect and sustain the community's intangible cultural heritage. The heartfelt efforts of Pampanga's local government, the Department of Tourism for Central Luzon, the passionate local researchers converge to defend the time-honored tradition of Pamagduman. Together, they are fervently working towards its nomination as a UNESCO-inscribed intangible cultural heritage, recognizing its profound significance. At kailangan nila ng ating suporta at tulong. Batay sa inilabas na datos ng Philippine Statistics Authority noong Marso, nakaraang taon, na itala na nanatiling isa sa mga pinakamahirap na sektor noong 2021 ang pagsasaka na pumapangalawa sa pangingisda. Hindi maikakailang tinataguyod ng sektor ng agrikultura ang pang-araw-araw nating pamumuhay. Ang kanilang mga bisig ay pinatatag at hinahapo ng pagbubungkal ng lupa. Bagaman ipinasa 5 taon na ang nakaraan, ang Republic Act 11203, yung Rice Liberalization Law na nagalayong paunlarin ang pag-asaka, magkaroon ng seguridad sa pagkain. Ano nga ba ang ating narating sa layuning paunlarin pa ang agrikultura sa ating bansa? Kung inyo pong matatandaan, inihain ko po sa Senado noong ika-4 ng Mayo 2023 ang Senate Bill 2136 na nag-aatas na ideklara ang ika-22 ng Enero bilang National Farmers Day upang kilalanin ang malaking kontribusyon, sipag, tiyaga na pinapamalas ng ating mga lokal na magsasaka. Bagaman ang pagsasaka ay kabahagi ng agham, hindi maikakaila na ang katutubong pag-asaka natin ay napayabong ng mga katutubo, dala ng kanilang pagiging malikhain at makakalikasan. Hindi natin maihihiwalay ang sining at kulturang Pilipino sa kalikasan sapagkat karamihan ng ating mga pinangangalagaan at tinatanghal na mga buhay na dunong at pamanang kultura ay gumagamit ng ating mga likas na yaman. Ang bulak na ginagamit sa paghabi ng ifugaw-ikat. Ang pinya na suot ko na ginagamit din ng mga Akyanon, ng mga Antikenyo at ng lahat ng Pilipino. Ang abaka ng mga Balaan at Tiboli at marami pang iba. Ano ang ating aanihin kung wala nang magtatanim? Kaya naman, ngayong pambansang buwan ng mga sining, sama-sama nating kilalanin ang mga buhay na dunong at sining. Bumisita tayo sa mga komunidad. Suportahan natin ang mga manlilikha at artista ng bayan. Tulungan natin ang mga magduduman. Sapagkat kung tunay nating tinataguyod ang bayang malikhain, makakaani tayo ng sining kung sasamahan natin ang taumbayan na siyang nangangalaga, bumubuhay, nagpapadaloy ng ating sining at kultura. Bilang inyong chairperson ng Senate Committee on Culture and the Arts, sinusulong ko ang pagtataguyod ng mga batas at polisiya na nangangalaga ng ating sining at kultura. Tinaguyod po natin yung Heritage Act, Republic Act 10066 bilang author at co-sponsor at sinulong ang pagsasabatas recently ng Culture Mapping Law bilang principal author at sponsor. Katuwang po natin ang NCCA at Department of Foreign Affairs ay muling nakakalahok ang ating bansa sa maraming mga trade fairs at mga exhibit at nandyan sa letrato yung sa Venice Biennale matapos na ang 5 dekada na tinatawag na hiatus, hindi tayo nakapag-sumali hanggang 2015. Atin ding sinulong ang Senate Bill 624 na galayong bumuo ng mga Institute of Living Traditions. Maghihiring na po ako dito, sana po isuportahan nyo para po masiguro ang pagiging buhay na buhay at masigla ng ating mga tradisyon, sining, buhay na dunong sa iba't ibang lokal na komunidad. Naging katuwang din po tayo sa pagsulong ng PICAN, Philippine Contemporary Art Network, nilunsad noong Enero 2018 sa Universidad ng Pilipinas, Vargas Museum. Sinuportahan natin yung curatorial intensive ng Independent Curators International, katuwang ang NCCA at ang Metropolitan Museum of Manila. Noong 2017, tayo po'y tumulong sa pagpasinaya at pagbigay ng suporta sa Philippine Studies, sa School of Oriental and African Studies sa London at pati na rin yung Philippine Studies sa Berlin, Germany. Iilan po yan sa ating mga pagsusumikap na linangin ang larang ng sining at kultura. Bilang tayo ang may kapangyarihan na gumawa ng mga batas at polisiya na mangangalaga sa ating yamang Pilipino, gampanan sana nating patuloy ito, panindigan natin ito, halina't makisining, bayang malikhain. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagtiyaga, sa aking pagbibigay ng aking mga kaisipan at advokasya para po sa ating hindi lang likas na yaman, kundi sa ating arts and culture. Maraming salamat po. Happy National Arts and Culture Month at sana bawat araw sa ating taon ay maging makabuluhan ayon na rin sa ating kultura. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Madam Senate President Pro Tempore. You are really a champion of culture and arts in this institution. And just a fun fact, actually, nandyan po si Jeremy Barnes of the National Museum. In the next 2 months, we're supposed to be inaugurating our Bukidnon Museum for Culture and Arts, which we financed during your term as chairman of the Committee on Finance, and was succeedingly financed after that when Sunny took over. But I'm actually looking at the book that I published about Bukidnon. We published this book about a few years back, and naghahanap po ako ng mga litrato para ma-highlight po natin yung magandang, it was taken by Nilo Shima, the photographer. We're going to highlight some of the areas of Bukidnon together with indigenous peoples, because the museum will be concentrating on the 7 indigenous tribes of Bukidnon, the Talandigs, the Matigsalogs, the Umayamons, the Banobos, and many of the 7 tribes. So I believe we also put funds in the National Museum to help us curate the exhibits that will be there. So I'm glad that Jeremy is here. If my chief of staff can see you later, Jeremy, I think they were going to go to a trip there to help set up the museum. So yes, we are very, very supportive of the culture and arts. So with that, Madam Senate President Pro Tempore, thank you once again for always igniting us, educating us, inspiring us with the love of culture and arts, because that is the soul of any nation. In the absence of that, the nation is nothing but a mere vessel. The soul is our arts and culture. So, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, with the consent of the body, Senator Nancy Binay would just like to insert to the record her manifestation of support to the privilege speech of our Senate President Pro Tempore.
Yes, our distinguished chairperson of the Committee on Tourism as well. We take note of that.
And one admin matters, Mr. President, with the consent of the body, Senator Legarda would like to just insert to the record her co-sponsorship speech on the FIBA resolution, which we adopted earlier. I so move, Mr.
Yes, we
President.
take note of that measure, of your manifestation.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the
Do
session
we
until.
suspend first? Will I,
Hey,
may we just
sorry.
suspend for 1 minute?
Yes, session suspended.
Yes,
Please.
suspend for 1 minute.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, February 7, 2024. I so move, Mr. President.
There be no objection. The session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wednesday, February 7, 2024. Have a good evening.